Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I am glad you're here. I want to take just a second and say thank you to the channel members. I appreciate you all more than you know. And I want to thank anybody who takes the time to come through the channel and watch my knife and ADC content. Thank you very much. If you like the content and you're so inclined, if you'd hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon down there, it would really help me out. This is probably the trickiest top 10, the way it makes me feel, for knives that I've brought into my collection for 2023 that I've done so far, because this is a segment of knives that lately I have not really spent a lot of time in, and it's the, for lack of a better terms, we'll say $200 and less, but I'm going to try to put together my top budget knives, which will be under $100. So we'll say these are right around $200 to $100. And looking at the list here, unfortunately, I don't think any of these are US made. I could represent that with several good USA made knives, but these are knives that I didn't already have in my collection. They're knives that have come to my collection this year from the best of my ability. And I just kind of want to share those with you. And starting out with number 10, this is a knife that after discount comes in, I think, right around $99. And this is the Devo Growler V2. This knife is as good as far as a cutter and an EDC tool. This knife is as good as any knife in my collection. No, it's not my favorite. No, it's not as premium. No, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. But yes, it does have fantastic ergos, quality materials with carbon fiber and 14C, a nice tall flat ground blade that makes for a very slicey knife. I think for a knife in the 100 to say $110 range, you will be pressed to find a better value and, in my opinion, a better tuned, better designed, better cutter than the Devo Growler. So it could really be a lot higher on this list, but again, this list is a little tricky to me. So I've got some very unique knives, because these are knives that I have bought with my money to bring into my collection to check out and share with you guys. So they might not be what most people buy, but I'm not trying to get anybody to go out and buy any of these knives. I'm just showing you, with what I've been collecting this year, what my favorites are. And number 10 is going to go to the Devo Growler. I'm a big fan of this knife. This is the V2. I had the V1, loved it, recently gave it away on a Friday Night Flicks. But we will start with number 10 and our Devo Growler. Number 9, a very unique knife that I found over at Knife Joy. It is, I've got the Cuvist Variant PE, and this is the Cuvist Variant, the second edition, the titanium. This has titanium scales, no liners, just the titanium scales. It has the variant that I've always loved in terms of the form and function. The difference here is you've got a frame lock instead of a liner lock. You've got titanium full scales milled out as opposed to titanium on a steel inset liner. You've got a 20 CV hollow ground blade that's very slicey. And then you've got this little small minimalistic front flipper, if you're not a finger flipper or thumb flipper guy, right there, that makes this knife just fly open if you do like front flips. but it's a Warncliffe style blade, kind of a sway back design, remarkably ergonomic and comfortable for an EDC knife, in my opinion. Has a black titanium clip, this variation, and has the black washed 20CV hollow ground blade. I'm a big fan of the variant. I'm a big fan of the Vanished, which is the little slip joint that looks like this knife. And in 2023, this has definitely been one that surprised me, that I'm glad to have in the collection, and that, as far as I can tell, will be a forever knife. And I want to say I brought this in for around 115 to 125 bucks, but that's the Kvist variant frame lock 20CV. So moving on, we come to the first Kaiser that I had purchased in a very, very long time. I hadn't bought a Kaiser in probably almost a couple of years, and then I saw the Kaiser variant. The variant I find extremely ergonomical, a great mid to full sized EDC knife, full titanium, with what I think is just very unique and beautiful milling. This little triangle that sits above that square pivot, which is a captive pivot, is kind of carried out through this triangle milling. And then you've got that carried over to the back side. It's a front flipper that's done very well. And as you guys know, I hate front flippers. But it's got a blade hole that I just love flicking. It's a thin Kaiser. As far as Kaisers go, it's got this really nice flat ground S35 VN blade with a wonderful, wonderful finger choil. It's also a great sharpening choil. And Kaiser's knocked it out of the park on several that kind of fall in this $100 to $200 range. But I want to say I picked this guy up at Amazon for right around $158, somewhere right around there. And this is the Kaiser Veritas, or Veritas. So moving on, I think this brings us to number 7. And this is the Max Ace Meerkat. The Meerkat is kind of the, what would I say, the evolution of the Max Ace Black Mara, only in the construction techniques, the materials. The Black Mirror was a small titanium knife, an M390, that came in around $130, $140. The Meerkat's a very unique knife, titanium with anodized hardware and pivot collars in S90V blade steel. When it first came out, it had a shorter pocket clip. Jared Neves had done a review and had found that to be one of his bigger flaws. And believe it or not, Max Ace offered everyone who bought one a replacement clip, and all you had to do was pay for shipping, which I thought was a fair deal. I would have bought one anyway. This knife is S90V, done very well. It's not as thin as the Veritas, or as the Growler, but it is a very comfortable knife that I think gives you just enough handful for a small to medium-sized knife. We'll call it a small knife, but that's still got some chunk. You've got this nice blade stock here, a really pretty swedge. You've got this whole area, even though you don't have jimping to hold your finger. This blocky titanium grip is very comfortable, highly milled out for weight relief. You've got this titanium backspacer and a lanyard hole. Really good lockup, smooth frame lock. I think it's just a winner. It is a deployment hole only knife, so it doesn't have a flipper tab or a front flipper. But I think the Max Ace Meerkat is a great value. I want to say it came in right around 148 bucks in S90V and titanium. I picked it up at White Mountain Knives and was able to use my Javon 10 code or any of your favorite codes to save another 10%. But I can highly recommend the Max Ace Meerkat for right under 150 bucks. Great knife. So moving on, we come to the Devo Mash. It's got a lynch clip on it. V2. This knife, I want to say I picked up for $135 before my Javon 10 code. And then I probably paid another $29 for the clip. I still got the wire clip. I like the wire clip fine. I just wanted to see how the lynch clip fit on there, which is very well. The mash is the reason I waited so long to probably, a month ago to pick up the Buzz, because this is such a good knife. And after picking up the Buzz, I can see a lot of differences in Best Tech's OEM work versus Kubi's. But this is a nice hollow ground sheep's foot blade, wonderful jimping on bearings, 14C 28N titanium with a titanium backspacer. Came with the wire clip, which works just great. T8 hardware all the way around. Total drop shut. Got a very nice trapezoid shaped deployment hole, because this is a flicker only knife. But anywhere you can get your finger in that hole, you've got positive deployment. So you can really get it to fly out of there. And this blade is so slicey. That hollow grind will just eat through materials. But the Devo Mash V2, I didn't have the V1, didn't experience it, but I can tell you that the V2 is a fantastic knife. And I believe, if I'm counting correctly, this comes in at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. I think this is number 6. And it's the Devo Mash, which brings us to number 5. Number 5 was a huge surprise to me. I discovered it at Blade Show 2023. I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know Brother Matisfaction had designed a knife. This is the Kaiser Phoenix. Again, if I was just out looking for knives that I liked, would I be turned on to the Phoenix? Maybe not at first, because that's not my normal jam. But you're going to see a lot of knives, not only in this video, but as you have in some of my other videos, that didn't start out as my normal jam, but really kind of outlived and outperformed what I thought they would in terms of how much I enjoyed carrying them, how well I feel that they're constructed, and in this particular case, how well the design was executed. So you've got thumb studs, you've got this really nice low profile flipper tab, you've got this beautiful S35VN trailing point blade that is just a skinning, slicing machine. I would imagine this in the field. That point is an absolute splinter digger. I would think as a Slurpee saver, that grip is about as stable as any self-defense knife that I think you'll find. You got a really nice sharpening choil here. You've got this stylistic swedge in the blade that just kind of ties that swoop in. You've got, I can't even, because I'm colorblind, tell you what this carbon fiber looks like. Unlike anything I've ever seen. It's a beautiful kind of, in my eye, which is colorblind, it's kind of black, gray, with little specks of blue and orange. I find it very appealing with this black titanium bolster. You've got black hardware, black blade, and then you've got Maddie's Maker's Mark and the Phoenix right there. And this, guys, is perfect of a knife that I would have never bought had I not given it a chance, because I would have walked past it, because it's not what I normally pick up. It's not a flipper. It's got kind of a Aladdin looking blade, but it works very well. I'm glad to have it. Feels great in the hand. And this is the Kaiser Phoenix by Manufacturing. And I want to say I picked this up for right around $185, $189. And we're going to call it number 5. So moving on, we come to a maker that I think offers some of the best value in the market and some of the most wild designs, right? So I'm talking about Tucson. This is the Tucson 300, TS300. It is a 14C 28N blade. It is a Mokhtar or whatever design. That's his maker's mark there. But it is this wicked frame lock Tanto that is done as well as any knife I would say that I have in my collection in terms of action, fit and finish, centering. It's titanium, 14C 28N. It's got a deep compound hollow grind here on the flat and really thick flat on the point. It's got a splinter digger tip. This is an absolute Slurpee saver. It's got a great sharpening choil. And when I talk about a slicing knife, full-size knife, but that hollow grind is thin. Whoops. The point is very, very slicey, and most importantly, very, very piercy. So the Tucson TS300 is probably one of my altogether best of Tucson. I've got several best of Tucson kind of knives, and the TS300 came to my collection this year. It looked neat when I saw it at White Mountain Knives. I took a chance on it. I'm glad I did. The detent's on point. I love the sound it makes, kind of a muffled. I don't know if you can hear that. Drop shut. Fantastic ergos. And just a fantastic Tanto knife. And that is the Tucson TS300. I want to say this was about 120 bucks, which is a mad ass value. So moving on to number 3, I believe. We have probably the most expensive knife on this collection, and it is the Flytanium Arcade, or as I like to refer to it as, the Demko 80 20.6. So this is what I think the Demkos that are going to drop tomorrow are going to feel a little more like, except they're going to be shorter. I don't know if y'all have seen the mini Demkos that are dropping tomorrow. Well, they'll have dropped after this releases. But this is a Flytanium Arcade. Flytanium is the first company to license the Shark Lock with Andrew Demko. So this is an actual legit Shark Lock. And I've compared this to all 4 of my 20.5s and have come to the non-scientific determination that these are made in the same factory. This is a titanium-made knife, S35VN, Flytanium with the little Flytanium logo. It's thumb studs, which you can reverse flick, you can thumb flick, or you can just use the smoothest Shark Lock I've experienced if you like that kind of thing. The ergos on the knife are great. The pocket clip you can feel, but nothing significant. It's a thin package. It's a slicey package. This is the factory edge. And I've modded each one of my 80 20.5s with different scales and stuff. This is set up to where they offer or will offer different clips, different studs. They offer different inlays that you can put here. It came with 2 G10 inlays. The ones that it came with, I think, were black G10 and yellow G10 because it was kind of the John Deere model. I picked up these black titanium ones when I first got it for about 30 bucks because I really like the knife. Again, I'm a Demco 20.5 fan. If you don't like the Demco 20.5, you're probably not going to like the Arcade. But if you like the Demco 20.5 for $199 before your 10% discount at White Mountain Knives, this is a knife that comes from the factory with S35VN, aluminum, and G10, and a licensed, well-done shark lock. So number 8 will be our, I want to say Demco 20.6, but our Flytanium Arcade. So coming in at number 2 is the third Kaiser on this list and the most recent Kaiser in my collection. And this is the Kaiser Mercury. Totally outside of the jam of anything I'd buy. This knife literally just came in a couple of days ago, but I've been carrying it. The only thing that I wish that it came in any other color besides gold, it's titanium, it's not gold. It's milled out to where it's done very, very well. It's what I call a gentleman's razor. You've got this really nice milling. The back comes together to make this really nice back spacer. You've got this titanium clip that goes in and out of pocket great. You've got this little understated flipper. And then you've got this wicked belt satin, hollow ground, little gentleman's blade. Liner lock, drop shut action. Another new designer, Alex. I forget his last name, I don't want to butcher it. But I think he was he submitted this design around the same time that Maddie did the Phoenix. So 2 knives on my under 200 are from 2 brand new designers, and I find that super, super cool. Actually 3 are, because my number 1's a pretty new designer too. But again, this is the Kaiser Mercury. I want to say it was right around 160 bucks. It's got this just Bunderbar, which is very good. Little straight razor that's great for packages, great for cardboard, great for cutting your way out of a seatbelt, you name it. I mean, it's just slices, right? I guess it would be even good for slicing sandwiches if that's something you're into, or slicing fruit if that's something you're into, you know? I don't know, but it's a slicey little knife that has absolutely captured my attention and, again, exceeded my expectations. 3 Kaisers on a list when I haven't purchased a Kaiser in over a year is encouraging to me, guys. This knife is perfectly centered. Got an amazing sharpening choil. S35VN blade steel. Hollow ground. They call it a sheep's foot. I kind of call it a razor. It is in this gold color. It might be in the future available in different finishes, but right now it's only available in this gold. I picked it up as soon as it became available. I bought it from Kaiser's website, and right after I bought it, it became available on White Mountain Knives, so I waited about 10 days for this knife, but was glad to get it in. It's an excellent EDC knife, not a hard use knife, but for a gentleman's folder that disappears into the handle that will pretty much handle any EDC task you might have. Number 2, Kaiser Mercury at about 160 bucks. Which brings me to my number 1 $100 to $200 knife in 2023. I like it so much that I actually bought 3. I haven't bought 4 because this only came out in 4 variations. This is the Devo Nip. It looks kind of like an understated small knife, but there's a lot more to this little knife. This particular variation is the Purple Cow carbon fiber with a belt satin blade, deep hollow grind, S90V, drop shut action, little minimalistic flipper deployment, a finger choil that gives me a full 4 fingers on a little small, wonderful hollow ground knife. This knife retails, and they're still available at Traditional Pocket Knives, the black titanium, which I bought. I bought the raw titanium from White Mountain Knives for $175, less my 10% discount. And then, if I'm not mistaken, NAF Sales has the Jack Sparrow, which is the stonewash carbon fiber with the stonewash, with the black and white carbon fiber, not the black and purple. But the action on this knife, whether you flick it, whether you flip it, whether you thumb flick it, which I never will, to me, and Lefty hates when I say this, it's kind of like a mini Jaeger, only because I really love the Jaeger. It doesn't look like a blatant Jaeger, but I take some liberty in seeing the similarities there. And to carry these two knives together, this and a Jaeger, is fantastic. That's why I picked this up, not only in carbon fiber, but in the all black from Traditional Pocket Knives, and in the all titanium from White Mountain Knives. So I've got 3 of these guys because I wanted to have them in my collection. Probably my favorite Devo knife. Fell in love with these guys so much that it influenced me to get the Buzz, which was my most expensive Devo knife. But guys, I have gotten probably the least amount of knives in that $100 to $200 range this year, but these are my top 10. And I did struggle with this because it is an area that, again, I just don't buy a lot of knives for some reason. I can buy some budget knives. A lot of those get given away. So when I give my budget knife review, that's going to be a little tricky because I might just do it from the ones that I've still got in my collection. I don't have the Miguron Moirel anymore, which I think kind of sucks because that is one of the best knives. But I know I've got my #1 budget knife, and I've got several others that we can pull together with it. But yeah, guys, these are all knives that if they fit your style, if they fit what you were going after in terms of the type of knife, because these are all over the board in terms of size, shape, purpose, right? I can tell you from an operational standpoint that they all work fantastically well. I'm a huge fan of all these guys, but I'm a huge fan of you guys, and I appreciate you watching my content. I love you all more than you could ever possibly know. I love hanging out with y'all. I came for the knives. I stayed for the people. You guys make it fun. You motivate me to make these videos at crazy hours of the night. I love you all. All I ask is please look out for that guy or gal to your left. Please look out for that guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.